Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. If you're new here today, my name is Emily and I am an event rider in Area 1 and a barn manager. And I wanted to share with you guys today because I've been getting a lot of questions lately on the vlog about my conditioning and fitness schedule. I thought I'd kind of do a little bit of a deep dive today on my training, conditioning, fitness routine with my thoroughbred as we prepare to hopefully go training level this season. Fingers crossed. Horses are horses, so you never get your hopes up too high. I have Richard here today outside. We are enjoying some sunshine. And while I beamer him and groom him, I thought we could kind of chit-chat through the schedule. And hopefully that fills you guys in and answers your questions that I've gotten on and off about that. So let's dive in today. It's kind of buggy out here, so I apologize in advance. Z is getting some new shoes and drilled and tapped today for our first cross-country school of the season. So I thought I would get Richard outside and enjoy some sunshine. He is also the prettiest specimen of what I would consider a muscled and fit thoroughbred. He is also only 6, so it's easier for him to be properly fit and muscled at this point in his life. Hi. He's very smushy. So I'd like to start by saying that as a eventer going novice and training, my first resource that I used beyond just discussing with my trainer was the USEA has a great article about fitness. I also do think, that being said, it varies horse to horse. There's a lot of factors that you should take into consideration when you're thinking about a conditioning or fitness routine for your horse. The first being what level that you're going to be riding at, and the second being the age and breed of your horse and how easy it is for them to get fit and maintain fitness. That has definitely varied for me from horse to horse. So there's a lot of things that factor in. I don't feel like fitness conditioning routine is one size fits all. I was recently listening to a podcast, one of the InStride podcasts with Will Coleman's grooms, and them just talking about the crazy schedule that those 5-star horses are under, and the aqua tread and all that crazy stuff, which are resources that we don't have here. But so the first thing I'd like to start with is that I really believe in horses having time off to start. So horses getting proper time to have time off completely is really important to me. I think this is a little bit of a personal tangent, but the people that are going south to compete in the winter time and then coming back up north, I just don't know that I see those horses getting a lot of time off. And my horse getting time off is important to me. So at the end of last year, we finished the very last weekend in September. Now you're just being cheeky. So when he finished his last event, he got October and November completely off. December, I started some groundwork and stretching, body work, things like that, kind of a reset from the ground up. Then all winter long, he just did groundwork, lunging, and flat work. So we kept a base fitness without hammering him all winter long. I also, personal side tangent, believe that every horse only has so many jumps in their life, and so I like to give my horses the winter off from jumping. Again, that's a personal preference. That doesn't apply to everyone. And that's just kind of how I see it. So my thought process and plan doesn't necessarily apply to everyone else. So my thoroughbred that just turned 15 got 2 months off completely. 1 month of very much groundwork only, lunging, building up. So I just think that the walk is a little underappreciated. There's a lot of great fitness that can be done at the walk. If you bite me, I didn't expect you to be like this. We don't usually do this outside. So I always encourage people that ask me about this, that when you start start small and incorporate as much walking and hacking as possible. Think about doing proper walking and hacking though. Think that the horse is engaged, not just like super relaxed and not using their hind end. So make sure that the horse is fully engaged in the walk, especially up and down hills. This is really important. So we did a lot of hill walking in the winter as well, just to help build, again, baseline fitness. And then even now, as we're getting closer to the season, I continue to incorporate walking in that I do a lot of walking before and after my rides. Z doesn't necessarily always do a hack day. He doesn't always do well hacking out alone. So instead, a lot of times I will do a lunge day, and we will go in hand on like long lines. We'll walk up and down hills. That's great work for him. I still incorporate a lot of hack walking on the property on all the other days before and after my rides. To pause and kind of recap my personal schedule, because many of you have asked, January, February, March, I would say we're really just heavy groundwork, lunging, and flat work months. We were stuck in the indoor most of that time. And I definitely did probably like 50-50 lunging versus flat riding. And most of my riding work was at the walk trot. Again, just so we maintained a baseline fitness, but we weren't going too crazy. When April hit, I made sure that the vet comes out and looks at all our horses, and we start discussing any maintenance that needs to be done before we get into the season, and then start jumping again, really small. Start with like canter poles, cavalettis, trot poles, small grids. Z especially can be really wild after all winter off, so he kind of needs a couple weeks to just go do low level stuff and get back in the mental groove of jumping, because he gets very excitable. So I would say all of April we kept the jump height pretty low, definitely no bigger than beginner novice, just so that he can start thinking about his footwork, but nothing is super tasking. We're gonna relax now. Because it's super low, and sometimes you're just doing like cantering, cavalettis and poles and whatnot, then sometimes I could incorporate some jump exercises 2 days in a row. Also started incorporating some conditioning into his schedule. So as we came into April, his schedule looked a little bit more like a lunge day, 2 dressage days, a conditioning day, and a jump day. I like to continue with the lunge day as we get into the season. It's a good stretchy day where they're still moving their bodies, because some horses don't move enough in turnout, but they're not having a rider on their back. So started with trot sets in the beginning of April, and then just the last week of April, I started adding in a canter set, or canter sets, I should say, a few 3-minute canter sets. A lot of this is based off of my conditioning. Specifically, a lot of that is based off of the conditioning days on the USEA website that they recommend. I also find that if you are doing a lot of tough dressage, that is great fitness for the horses. So I would say I didn't spend extra days beyond 1 day right now, and we'll see how this goes. Conditioning, because Z's working really hard on the dressage. So as we come into May, we'll be working towards jumping more at height, continuing with so jump day, conditioning day, 2 dressage days, lunge day, and then potentially a 6th jump day or conditioning day, depending on what he needs. Want to make sure I keep the lunge day in, and then you might note from there that I ramped from 5 days to 6-day work week as we get into the season, just to keep the fitness moving up. We were pretty slow when we went training at the end of last year, so my goal is to come out with a more fit horse that can gallop a little more appropriately. Again, the goal wasn't to make time last year, but I am working on the fitness. I think sometimes when you have a hot thoroughbred, it feels hot and fit all the time, and he was not actually as fit as I thought he was. So that's something I'm focusing on personally this year. Now, recently, follower of the vlog asked me about what's appropriate for people that are in lessons or like a half-lease program. And I thought this was a great question because, well, for starters, you should definitely discuss with your trainer. But I do have issues with sometimes people that are in these situations, they want to get on and really have like a hardcore workout ride and ride really hard for an hour. And I just remind them to pause and think about the horse's fitness. You know, if that horse is a lesson horse that's, you know, only getting used a couple times a week, are they fit enough to be going out for an hour heavy duty ride? Again, things to discuss with your trainer. I am by no means an expert, but just things to consider. Also, if you are wanting to make more progress in the saddle, I would just recommend that then you're getting more ride days, not more ride time all at the same time. I think it's more important to do shorter sessions more frequently than say, oh, I can only go and ride these 2 days for 2 hours. Again, I'm not saying that won't work, just from my personal experience and my personal preference. So I'm by no means an expert. To kind of wrap up all of those thoughts, for my horse personally, I'm going to continue to follow I will link the USEA guideline, and I continue to kind of follow that kind of conditioning schedule. You're really silly about the gnats out here, huh? Relax, relax, it's good for you. Patience. So I personally think that that is a great resource if you are getting started in the eventing, fitness, and conditioning and want something to kind of use as a starter guide. I find that super helpful. I don't follow it specifically all the way through, but I take bits and pieces about like trot sets and canter sets to apply to my horse that is working towards training level fitness. I also think use your trainer as a sounding board. If anyone knows your horse well, it's going to be you and your trainer, and they're going to be able to help you figure out what's best for your horse based off of their breed and age and what level you're riding at, what kind of fitness you need. I also find that my schedule often changes as we kind of get into the season. So I might start out jumping 2 days a week if my horse needs some rideability. And then, you know, as he gets in the season and he's in a good groove and we have better rideability, then we'll bump that down to 1 day a week. Like, we don't need to jump his legs off and make him tired. I think it's really important to know your horse and listen to your horse. Don't go too fast with your fitness. Again, the more walking that you can do, the better. There's a lot of good fitness to walking. Richard's so distracting. Oh, goodness. And, you know, again, use those resources of people that know your horse well and can help you come up with a schedule if you need help. I feel like that kind of encompasses everything. As we get into the beginning of the season, I'm going to be putting out some vlogs about like my packing and things like that, just as like lead up for the season and how I prep. I think you guys find that interesting if you are eventers. I know I enjoy it, and just the different things that people use. And so this was kind of at the top of my list, as I have gotten some questions recently about what I've been doing with Z and like what my conditioning schedule looks like. And, you know, the first event or two are really going to tell how fit he is going into the season and whether I need to ramp that up more or tone it down a notch. You know, it's just kind of how you got to feel it out and listen to your horse. So I think that's pretty much everything. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments below. If you enjoyed my vlog, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I try to post 1 or 2 times a week, and you know, the ins and outs of the barn and eventing and everything. So thanks for coming along on this journey. Richard. Oh, he's such a goofer. Such a goober. I will see you guys next time. Say bye, Richard. Thanks for watching. Bye. Ooh. This would be a funny blooper at the end. A little bit better. There we go. Definitely will put this in at the end as a funny blooper.